GVN presents Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. Today's binge:
Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Welcome to another installment of Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we are getting right down to it. We have reached episode 11, a brand new day. And Wednesday, we got the 2-hour season final, and that'll be all she wrote for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I've got to be honest with you, honey. It's making me sad.
Honestly,
making me truthfully sad.
I say that's the one thing when you watch these shows, especially over a number of years, you get emotionally invested in everybody, and when it ends, it's kind of sad. But it actually is going to depend how they end it, because we've had some shows that we liked a lot, and by the after when it was done, we were really
what happened?
But
that was how you ended it?
Yeah, which was fine.
I feel like that's not going to be what happens here.
No, I just don't believe it. And from everything I've
that to me, because emotionally, I don't think I can handle it. I could possibly slit my wrists.
Well, I don't know.
Take that out of there. It's just, we don't need to talk about my depression.
You say after you laugh it off. Okay, that's all right. We don't have anything sharp enough around here to do any damage.
But let's start all over again.
Nope, I'm sorry. We can't do that. Nope.
I'm Kathy.
Too late.
Yes, no, this is
nope,
it. I'm Kathy.
We're not doing it.
Yes, we're doing it. You're going to go right from here. You're going to go straight.
Nope, I can cut off this middle section
and
here.
I'm Kathy.
Well, we're not starting with that, because then I got to go through the whole rigmarole I just went through as far as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. goes. So we're not doing that. That's already laid out there. That's fine. It's when you went off on a tangent that caused the problem.
Okay, well, I'm Kathy.
Okay, we got that settled out. So
I hate this one. I'm doing it the wrong way.
Okay, stop trying to move it opposite of the direction it actually is.
I know, but there it is. I just have to.
By the way, also, like when we dubbed this for the audio thing,
yeah,
those are the kind of things I need to cut off, because us talking about which direction your hair going, it doesn't help anybody on the audio who's listening just to the audio to know what the hell we're talking about.
Anyway, I gotta stop now, because sorry, making me crazy. Just so we can see GVN.
That's not.
This is why we're doing this.
No, that's not why we're doing it.
And we can read pickles.
That's important.
That is, because that's Martin and Kathy. Really, that is us to a T. Pretty much.
Okay.
All right, let's go.
All right. So, just like we start every show, I give my lovely wife an opportunity to talk about whatever she wants to talk about. And we're back at it again. So,
all right, well,
the floor is yours, my dear.
The only thing I want to talk about today is how this entire week has been an emotional roller coaster for me for many reasons, mainly because of my sleep deprivation. And I'm really starting to get really sad about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Annie. So we had to start it over again, watching it again from the beginning.
What's the happy time?
I think maybe that what I would really like to see is all my dreams come true. No, but honestly, I am emotionally invested in it. I am really sad about stuff that's happening, but really happy they're still moving forward to get where they got to go. And
you're talking about the show now?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to sure. Okay.
Yes, because my sleep deprivation is caused by my son, and the fact that I can't let things go because I'm a control freak.
Well, of course, also the problem is they're like 3 to 4 weeks away from regular school, and although they basically know they're going to do the virtual thing for the first semester, they don't know anything else. They don't know how it's going to work. They don't know anything,
so
basically. So because of that, we we're kind of in limbo trying to decide how to set up here, and then of course someone has to be here for Jeffrey, because he's not going to sit there and
Jeffrey's not going to sit there and do virtual learning with his attention deficit disorder. Anyway,
No, all they're going to be staring at is the back of an empty chair.
for sure. I could have done that and it wouldn't have made such a big deal. Oh, so anyway, yeah. So let me just say this about Jeffrey.
Yeah. What about Jeffrey?
He's enjoyed that the commercial, the public service announcement so much.
Oh, you mean ours?
Yes. That and I told you this already though, but I'm gonna tell you again. They inserted his name into it.
Yeah, this morning.
Yeah, he liked it. He was very excited about that part. So he enjoyed that. Anyway, so that's all. I ain't got enough to say. Let's just get into this thing because I want to talk about this.
I want to talk about this one, and because I want to lead into the final and what we think is going to go on.
Right.
Okay. So
I've said the same thing the whole time, but
right. And from just little hints and bits and pieces I've gotten, I think you're going to be proven to be correct.
We'll see.
If they don't throw a
big old monkey wrench into
right,
it.
a twist into it. So anyway, so a brand new day. Basically, it comes off right as last week's episode ended, which is Daisy's mother was killed, and Malik took Gemma along with Garrett into the Zephyr, and they're tracking them. In the beginning of this episode, they're tracking them on the satellite thing, and it disappears. So they're trying to figure out, well, what happened? Of course, Sousa's thinking, well, maybe they jumped. He said, no, they couldn't have jumped. The jump's not working. And of course, Daisy's adamant that
because they have the Zephyr, so it doesn't matter. I mean, because it's not working.
Right.
And that's where they're at, right?
Garrett and Malik and Gemma are on the Zephyr.
Right.
They took the Zephyr, which was the one that has the jump drive.
Right. Yeah.
But she's saying they can't jump because the jump drive's not working, which it doesn't. So basically, all their thing is what they did is they just went above the satellites. They're in space.
Right.
So in the meantime, the Quinjet arrived back with Mac, Yo-Yo, and Coulson and Kora. And of course, Kora believes that, that Daisy believes Kora knows where they took Gemma. So she goes down to greet them and slams her against the wall, right, and grabs her by the throat and tells her to tell her where Gemma is. And of course, Mac's saying to let her go, and she lets her down. Of course, Cora's still going on her little spiel from the end of last episode that she wants to be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Right.
And
nobody believes that.
Right. Well, I mean, why should they? But she's saying that the way, that her and Malik just want to save lives. Said, and we already have. We saved mine. We saved Sousa's, which, again, they had nothing to do with saving Sousa. That was all Coulson and them that saved him. Truth be known, if it was their way, they would have killed Sousa. They didn't care.
Right. Well, that's what wasn't that the Chronicoms that were trying to shoot him?
So for her to say that they saved lives by saving Sousa, no, they didn't. And of course, then Mac said, "Well, there have been lives lost too." And she goes, "Yeah, your parents. That was regrettable. That wasn't supposed to happen." But it did prove one thing. And what did she say that proved? That
the timeline was changeable.
I love it when I throw those out at you when you're not ready for it, but you're absolutely correct, because saying that the timeline is basically what you.
I'm glad you feel so good about that.
No, well, because
it kind of makes me feel pissy.
Well, you said that at the during the part of last episode, you said, "Well, it's already wrecked." That's what you said.
It is already wrecked.
It's already wrecked. So stop trying to fix it. It's wrecked.
Right. Now you just got to get to salvage what you got out of what you got.
Right. And she says the best way we think that S.H.I.E.L.D. can save lives is by killing people. And of course, Coulson going, so basically you just want to do the same thing that Project Insight did, but you want to put a different bow on it.
Right.
Right. So she says, so we kill people.
So we don't need in the future, or in the other timeline future, in the Avengers, where the all the helicarriers were up
as Winter Soldier.
Whatever. What did I call it?
Avengers.
Okay, well, it is an Avengers movie.
No, it's a
sort of
Captain America movie, actually.
Whatever. Isn't he an Avenger? He's the first Avenger.
Yes.
Isn't he now?
So I'm right.
So I am right, and you are wrong. So there.
Well, very good. Okay, so so while they're talking with Kora, and of course, Mac is telling Kora that he said, you I don't think you understand what Shield's about. We don't kill people. Said that's you don't know our motto. We said, well, it's not really a motto. It's more just like a let's see, what was the word? Oh, it's more like a method. It's not. They're not guidelines. They're just more like helpful suggestions. So Daisy asked to talk to Kora alone, when she says it, Kora basically says it right the same time she did. So because Sybil predicted you're going to want to do that, you're going to want to talk to me. So Daisy pulls Kora aside, and Cora's saying basically that she's always wanted a sibling, and together they can do great things. It goes over to be like a superhero sister group. Huh? So I said, yeah. I said, well,
all superpowered villains like for them to have somebody to join them and be more villainous.
And do you think she's villainous?
Or what she is right now.
Right. She's kind of hard to figure.
She's a very complicated person.
Right.
And because I feel like first she's suicidal, then she's empowered within 24 hours. And then, how do you go from suicidal to empowered in 24 hours? I mean, don't you kind of got get over your little bit of depression where you're just getting ready to blow your brains out?
Right. And all it took was for Malik to
say, hey, let's just take over the world. Right. Won't you join me?
Said, okay. I said, no, we're going to have to kill some people. Okay.
Well, that's what has to happen. I was going to kill myself, so I'm on that
right.
track.
So
anyway.
What's the difference between killing me and killing somebody else?
All good.
So and
it won't hurt as much for me.
Right. Yeah, so she's kind of a strange person to figure out there. Yeah. So anyway, so while she's talking, Daisy's talking to Kora, and she asked her what her relationship was like with her mother, and she goes that it was fine until I got my power, and then she started, according to her mother started pushing her away. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
And she told Daisy, I'm sorry that you didn't have that kind of relationship.
I don't think she was pushing her away. I think she was trying to contain her.
Right. And so Cora's thinking
until she could figure it out.
And that to Cora's thinking that's pushing her away.
I suppose.
And of course, Cora tells Daisy, said that, I'm sorry you didn't have that kind of relationship with mother. She goes, well, I'm sorry you threw it away, basically. Yes. So she then says that the one thing Sybil knew is that Daisy would never let her sister fight alone. And of course, Cora's thinking her. And Daisy says, well, you're right. And throws because she's still cuffed in the cell that she's talking to her in. So Daisy throws her the key to the cuffs, but then still locks the door on the cell. So basically that set Daisy's plan, which was to go rescue Gemma. So back on the Zephyr, Nate is trying to extract Fitz's location from Gemma. He's got her in the machine, the same machine he used to let Garrett see his future. And he's trying to extract where Fitz is, but all he's getting is Gemma's memory, and Grant Ward dropped them and Fitz in the pod into the ocean.
Right.
And he pulls his hand out and said, as much as I would love to see Fitz go back into catatonic state again, that's not what I'm looking for. Why can't I see what I want to see? So he goes in there and tries it again, still can't get it. So now he's getting frustrated. Said, why can't I, I'm supposed to be able to see whatever I want to see, and I'm not doing it. So how are you blocking me? So she just looks at him and says, well, maybe it's because you don't, you're not very good at what you're doing. And so, of course, he slaps her. And it doesn't face her any. She just kind of looks him down. So he says, okay, then if that doesn't do anything, so bring in the grandson. So they bring in Deke. Now, Deke had gotten captured. At the end of last episode, he was loose on the ship.
Right.
So he started looking around, trying, reconnoitering the place. And he said at the time that it was like Nakatomi Plaza, like his game that he designed when back in it with his tech company, which of course he stole from Die Hard. But anyway, so Nakatomi Plaza lasted all about a minute before Garrett materialized behind him and captured him. And apparently between then and now, they've been beating on him for whatever reason. So
he had a pretty good little gash on his head.
Yeah, so he looked a little beaten up, and his mouth was all bloody.
Yeah.
So they bring him in and kneeling down on the floor, and of course he's looking at Gemma.
He said, "Hi, Nana."
Right, and asked, so how her day's gone. So In the meantime, of course, Daisy had talked to Kora, and she decided she was going to go save Gemma. And her idea to save Gemma was to go in and take a Quinjet and go up after her. Of course, the only problem is that she's never flown the Quinjet. But of course, on her way to the dock,
Dun, 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 dun.
here
Comes Sousa.
comes Daniel Sousa behind her and wondering, hey, where you going?
Hey, can I go?
Right, and she's basically saying, I know you want to help, but for just once, let's not. And she starts to walk away, and he goes ahead and follows her anyway. Says, I can tell you getting ready to do something stupid, and what I've learned on all my time that when someone is about ready to do something stupid, they need a backup. So I'll be your backup.
Somebody to be stupid with them.
Right, so I will be your backup. And she goes, well, have you ever done anything like this before? Walked away from your post? And he's like looking at her like, what? No. She goes, okay then. Well, this is good. So come on. And of course, Daisy's thinking, and to me it's rightful thinking, is that because Sybil knows so much about what they do, she's predicting what they're going to do.
Right.
So she thinks the only way to beat her is to start thinking outside the box of what they would normally do.
Right.
So this is kind of outside that box. So they get in the Quinjet, and this is when Sousa realizes that Daisy's never flown it before, and she's in there looking around at the switches and everything. Goes, so you've never flown this thing before? She goes, no, but everyone else has. So how hard can it be? So while she's trying to figure it out, Matt comes in and said, so you think you're going to be taking the Quinjet without director authorization to open the bay doors? Said, so he goes in, keys in director authorization. Okay, you've been authorized. Said, so get out of the pilot seat. So I'm going to go with you. Said, get out before I change my mind. So they take off. So while they're taking off, Coulson and May are watching from the control room, and May's thinking, well, this is great. This is not good. Another bunch. We lose Gemma and Deke, and now we're losing Daisy and Mac and Coulson. Right. Excuse me, and Sousa, correct. So she thinks it's a bad idea. And of course, Coulson's thinking, no, I think they got the right idea. We need to start thinking outside the box. So the director going rogue. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, he's saying, okay, we need to find out what Kora's doing here, because she's not here to become an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. over here. So to do that, I need you to talk to her, because, you have this ability now.
Right.
You need to read her thoughts and figure out, or figure out exactly why she's actually here.
Mm-hmm.
So in the meantime, back on the Zephyr, they're beating on Deke, trying to get Gemma to explain to him how she's blocking him.
Right.
And
they figure that they're trying to make her do it because I'm beating him.
Right. And of course, of course, she doesn't break, and neither does Deke.
Right, because they know they can't.
Right.
And not to mention the fact that, well, it doesn't matter what
Deke can't
Deke can't do nothing, and Gemma can't remember it. Period.
Right.
I mean, as far as a verbal remembrance.
Right. So he can't. He said, so you can take pain. He's talking to Deke and said, that's impressive. But say, what if we do this? So he grabs Gemma by the neck and starts to quake her neck and says, I'm going to cause her to have a hemorrhage. She's going to go into a coma if you don't tell me how she's blocking me. Of course, I mean, Deke knows how she's blocking him, but there's nothing he can do about getting it out or anything.
And not to mention the fact that he's let him quake her and put her in a coma. How's that going to help you?
I mean, again, he's just doing the emotional thing. And of course, it's bothering Deke.
Sure.
But while he's doing it, he notices what you call the little predator lights in the back of her neck where the implant is. So he stops quaking her, and he's looking at the back of her neck. Of course, Deke realizes that he's found the implant, and he starts to get up to go after him, and he quakes Deke up against the wall, knocks him out, and said, that was for my old man. So then he tells his henchmen, okay, now you guys need to find a way to get this thing out of the back of her neck. So while this is going on, the Quinjet is heading into space after the Zephyr, and then they leave the Earth's atmosphere, and this is Sousa's first time being in space. So initially, he's in his seat, and he's starting to float up until Mac turns on the gravity and sits back down.
Right.
But then he's looking out the portal and seeing the outside, and so, wow, in my time, we dreamed about seeing this.
Right.
So, well, that's good, but we're getting ready to turn on the thrusters to head toward the Zephyr, so you might want to buckle in.
Right.
So that's what he does. They buckle in, and they're heading toward the Zephyr. And in the meantime, May is back at the lighthouse going to talk to Kora. Of course, Kora is bringing up her time, the Calvary thing in Bahrain, saying that, you're despicable.
Yeah.
You killed that little girl when you didn't need to. She needed help. She didn't need to be killed.
Right.
And of course, May has been, made peace with that a long time ago.
Right.
Said that she was out of control. There was nothing, no way to talk her down. She had to be stopped. So that's what I did. She was out of control, just like you are.
Yeah.
And of course, she gets Kora a little mad. She goes, "I'll show you out of control." And she punches the wall with her power, and it knocks the lighthouse's power out.
Right.
Of course, when it knocks the lighthouse's power out, it knocks down their firewall, which allows Sybil, who's been in the power grid all this time, to get into the system's into their computer.
System. Right.
So they realized that and said that in the meantime, Sybil has put a message local, so a bunch of computer code looking stuff, and she keeps reading what she's saying. And Coach says, "I can read. You don't have to keep doing that." She goes, "Well, can you read the rest of it, the computer code?"
And he was like, "Yes, I can."
Well, actually, originally he said, "No, I don't think I can." So he starts looking at it, and apparently he can.
Right.
So now Mac and Daisy they've gotten the Zephyr up into space, and they're just kind of waiting.
Right.
And they're making preparations to be able to stay up in space as long as they can. So they've pretty much cut most essential power, and they're just kind of waiting.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, Daisy brings up that Enoch had said, and this was one of my favorite parts of this episode, the couple conversations between Mac and Daisy, and then Mac and Sousa.
Right.
But Mac's talking, and Daisy says, Enoch said this was going to be our last mission together. And he said, "Yeah, could be. It's time." And she didn't understand why he's taking it her so lately. She goes, "Yeah, but we're family." And he said, "Well, that's what families do. They break, they go their separate ways from time to time." Said, "There is this thing called a phone." Said, "I know you millennials like to just think all you do is take selfies with it. But back in the 80s, we used to actually talk to people. So, we can call each other." And of course, he's not only talking about their situation, he's talking about the cast situation, this being their last time. "Are you tearing up? Is it sad?" That's okay. So, again, it was a nice little scene, basically talking both parts about the show and, the end of the show where the actual cast will be going their separate ways. And then
she goes to the back, and then Sousa comes up to the.
Well, not quite yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's asking her about Sousa.
Right.
And she goes, "Well, when we were doing that time jumping thing, I might have kissed you." And he starts smiling. He said, "What are you smiling about?" Because I won $20 from Yo-Yo. And of course, then he goes, again, then he addresses again the fact that she thinks things are going to change. He says, "Yeah, they're going to change, but that's okay. It's going to change." Now, like I said, that's the first conversation. Which was, like I said, a couple of the best parts in the episode. In the meantime, Nathaniel's men has found the device that Gemma uses to take the implant out. But of course, it's a special code that only she knows,
right?
And she doesn't remember, or she's not going to give it to him, so they can't make it work,
right?
And of course, he's getting even more pissed off,
right?
And he throws it through the glass. And the line he says here, I think, is kind of telling about Nathaniel. He said, "I'm sorry, I'm used to getting what I want." I think that's part of his problem all along, which again comes back to the brother.
Mm-hmm.
I think back in the original timeline, it was the brother who usually got what he wanted, and now it's Nathaniel who gets. And why would Nathaniel get what he wants? Because the brother is gone. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. I think he already because I believe that when all that thing happened and he was starting to, I think the Chronicoms told somehow or another he figured out that his brother was going to end up
or as you said, the Chronicoms could have told him, and he just turned the tables on him.
He said, "Fine, whatever."
Okay, so anyway, so he's a little mad.
I wonder if we'll hear, but I wonder if they'll wrap that up so we know how that timeline shifted.
There's a whole bunch of holes that they're going to fill up in the last 2 hours.
I hope so. I just would like to know if it was what we think, or if he just said, hey,
So anyway, so he can't get it to her that way. So now he's frustrated about how he's going to do it. Okay, back on the base, now that Sybil's in the system, Coulson is trying to use his newfound computer skills to block her out.
right.
But in the meantime, he says, I need for you to talk to Kora again. And she goes, well, I don't know if that's a good idea. Last time I talked to her, she got ticked off and blew the power. So in the meantime, while they're discussing this, Kora unlocks all the cells.
Right.
Now there's two guys down in the cells underneath him, and Yo-Yo had been watching them.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason she had been watching them is because she was concerned about Garrett, since he could, materialize in and out. She wanted to be there. So anyway, so when Sybil unlocked the cells, Yo-Yo was looking at her laptop, because she's not thinking anything's going to happen. So they get out, and one of the guys is the guy who can materialize the knife.
Right.
So he's coming up behind her to thinking he's going to cut her, and of course she realizes there. She checks again since she's had her powers revamped. She don't seem to have much trouble with people. She knocked out the one guy and threw him into the control room, and then dragged in the other guy. And at the same time, now of course, if their cells are open, Kora's cell is open, and Kora comes in and starts talking about again about killing people, and Coulson saying, "See, you're talking about you and Malik saving people. So this guy, this mercenary guy, he's the kind of guys he's saving." So she looks at him and kills him. Kora kills him. So there. So that's one guy that wasn't supposed to be alive that's now dead. You feel better about your time right now? So she's sitting there telling him that she's got a list of 30 people that they think they should kill. And Yo-Yo asks, okay, so what's on this list? And of course, they're going, no, we don't care to know what's on the list. Let's just hear it. So the first person she mentioned is Grant Ward. And Coulson goes, well, he's just a kid. And she goes, well, there's
at least thousands of lives saved.
Right.
Heard of them now.
And of course she says, there's at least one person in here who doesn't mind killing kids. Which I thought was kind of a low blow.
Yeah, it was. And the thing that bothered me about that thought process is, and when Coulson said, hey, I saw a timeline where he was a good guy, but that timeline's gone. And that timeline has ended. And
that one got screwed when basically Garrett intercepted Garrett. And now, according to Kora, she's saying that Ward would turn out bad whether Garrett was there or not, which is why Coulson said that's not necessarily true, because we've already seen that with the proper guidance.
But wasn't that?
That was in the framework, though.
Yeah,
that was.
That's not even
I know,
real.
But still, he's basically saying, Victoria Ham was his mentor then, and he turned out good. So you can't say there's no possibility for someone to turn him around. So and of course, Cora's saying, that's fine. Said, but I just want to prove to people.
But hold on a minute.
What's that?
Let's rewind that back again. I'm gonna have to go with Kora on that one. He'd be bad one way or the other because.
Why would you think that?
Because the framework was supposed to be what you wished you were.
Well, I know, but he wasn't even alive then. I mean, they just threw him in there. I'm not even sure why they threw him in there.
Oh, maybe it's what everybody wished he was.
I'm not sure why they threw Grant Ward in there. I don't know, because I don't know of anybody who would have said, "Yeah, I'd like to see Grant Ward back here again."
I don't know. Okay,
I think they threw him in the framework just to mess with people's heads. But regardless, Cora,
it's still fancy anyway.
Right. So anyway, Cora is saying that all she's basically wanting to do is to show her mother that this is who she is and that's okay. So when May hears her says that, she goes, "Well, your mother's here. We can show you her right now what you are."
I thought that was going to be horrible. It did.
To me, it
didn't turn out well,
but still, I mean, I guess it was a roll of the dice. Depending on how she was going to react. And I think this was she did this with the idea that there was some good in Kora still,
right? And
this might reach that point. So again, we go back up to the Zephyr, and this time Malik's going to go into the mind machine with Gemma, trying to steer her in the right direction. And when he does that, we get a little bit of backstory of what happened, before she went at the end of season 6 into the temple. Shows them working on the time drive and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they make a mention of a blood test that a lot of fans, and of course when I heard it, I assumed too that they were trying to say that
Fitz had cancer.
right,
Or
Fitz had
something.
some kind of disease because of the blood test. Now we don't know that blood test is about. I was halfway thinking it. For all we know, it could be about her pregnancy.
Oh, that's for sure. And you know what? I'm going to be really happy about my previous predictions week after week, where he's taking care of their child somewhere in the.
Right. And I think that's probably true, and also why she was so upset when he was telling her he's going to make her forget everything, which included
her child. Well, and this is the other thing too. I think that what happened, or this is what I would like to think that has happened, and I'm hoping this is what happened. They've already raised their child and together because they had all the time in the world.
Right.
And I think that maybe they could have even now that the timeline is so messed up anyway, maybe they've already had their child, they've raised their child, and maybe even she may have been. I mean, they didn't look old in that picture.
Well, the only thing
I think that was in their mind.
The only thing I wasn't sure of, and again, this is the danger of going, being on Twitter and everything, is they showed a number of pictures of them with a little girl, and this was not this was like maybe 10, 8, between 8 and 10, maybe year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
she
younger.
Hadn't seen her baby yet.
Right. So,
or
maybe she's just not since then.
Right.
So, right. There's no telling how old she could be at this point.
Right.
If that's, again, we're all supposition. We're going to find out in 2 days.
We should probably just stop chatting about
right.
that.
Well, don't worry. By now, everyone is making all kinds of ideas of what's going on. So I don't think we're stepping on anybody's toes there.
Right.
Okay. So, but anyway, so during that time where after they talk about the blood test, Fitz is telling them that because as you say, we got all this time.
All right.
I think we should just go ahead and live our lives.
Right.
Just go ahead and live.
Because
we can always go back. Right. We can always go back and then do what we had planned to do. But in the meantime, there's no reason why we can't go ahead and go on with our lives and enjoy it while we got it. If our thing with Coulson taught us anything, it was take time to live while you got it. So, anyway, that's pretty much what they said. And of course, this is not what Malik is wanting to know, and he's getting in. So he's sitting there yelling at Fitz. Well, where are you?
Yeah.
Oh, more hair, come see me. So anyway, so he gets out of the machine. He's pretty now liquored up and pissed off that he still doesn't know. He said, "Well, never mind. It doesn't matter anyway, probably," and tells Deke and excuse me. Let me back up the truck. Right before they come back out of it, you see Fitz hugging Gemma, telling her that. Jim is saying, "I don't want to forget," and she's quite upset. And Jim is saying, "It's okay. You got to be strong." And you see her in a room by herself, just sitting there saying, "I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget. I don't want to forget." So anyway, so when they come out of the machine, like I said, Malik's all mad because he still hasn't gotten what he wants. He still doesn't know where Fitz is, but he said it doesn't matter because you guys are going to be front row seat at the greatest show on earth. Right. But anyway, so when she gets out, she goes over to Deke. And, Deke's all tied up. She's cutting him loose. And Deke's going, okay, so, well, apparently he didn't find out where Fitz is. And then
she said, who's Fitz?
Right. She didn't even remember who Fitz is, which, again, pretty much has to do with whatever they were trying to make her forget.
Right.
Okay, so, meanwhile, back on the Zephyr, this is where Mac and Sousa are sitting up front. And Daisy's taking a nap. And Mac asked Susan what his intentions are with Daisy. It's like her dad.
Like her dad,
right. And he says, well, I don't have any intentions with Daisy. He said, well, you better get him real quick because this girl's into you. And I'm telling you, she doesn't know it yet. But when she does, watch out.
Right.
Said, and so you best, and he said, yeah. He said, because and she said, there's no stopping her. I said, right. Said, so, and I like you, but she's been hurt a lot, and I don't want to see her hurt again. And she was going, "Are you threatening me, sir?" I said, "No, I'm just telling you." I said, "We don't want to hurt, and that's not just me; that's the whole team." So basically, you got like 5 fathers all waiting there at the doorstep when you come to get the girl, ready to beat the crap out of you if you're not good to the girl. So he says, "I promise you, I'd never hurt her." He said, "Okay, that's good." she was, and then Max sitting there thinking and said, "So a man out of time and Quake." And says, "Quake." I said, "Yeah, that's her superhero name." And Sousa starts laughing and said, "Don't you think it's kind of funny sounding?" Quake. I actually didn't get it. I don't know why he thinks it's funny. But they start laughing about it, thinking that they thought it was funny. Okay, so but I thought that scene was kind of cute, where he's basically playing the dad for. And of course, they used to be partners in a previous season, Mac and Daisy.
Right.
So it was kind of nice to see him looking after her. So in the meantime, May took Kora to see
Okay, she's been able to heal her, Mac.
Well, that's what Cora's thinking. Cora's thinking, well, it's okay. She can heal herself. She just needs some help.
Right.
So she starts putting her power into her, telling her to heal.
I think that was a lot too late.
Right. And of course, when she first, when she tries and doesn't work, she's sitting there looking and she goes, her vertebrae in her neck have been destroyed. She's been quaked. And she initially starts thinking like Daisy did it. She goes, "No, you know who did this." And she goes, "Well, then he must have had a reason. She must have attacked him or anything, or attacked him or something."
Mm-hmm.
She goes, "No, so your mother did that to protect Daisy."
Mm-hmm.
Try somebody, Malik is using you. And she goes, "Well, aren't you doing the same thing?" He gets mad at May and starts hitting her. Doesn't use her power, just starts beating at her. And May's basically just kind of letting her do it until she finally stops her and starts fighting back.
Right.
And then, of course, Kora loses control again and does one of her blasts. And, of course, May, being May, ducks back out of the way and it blasts a big giant hole in the wall. And that's when May realizes that she's out of control again. But before anything else can happen, Garrett shows up and grabs Kora and leaves. So they disappear. So in the meantime, Mac and them are getting ready to try to dock with the Zephyr. But the Chronicom ships appear because Malik had signaled for them.
Right. And
come to find out that Sybil had signaled for them a long time ago, and they were just waiting for a signal to appear. And Nathaniel sent the signal, so they all showed up, and he got on the radio and said, "Okay, this is Nathaniel Malik. You are, your predictor Sybil is giving you the order to fire whenever you're ready." So in the meantime, while that's going on, Coulson is on the base saying, "Okay, suddenly it's become Mr. Computer Science," and he's saying he's pulling up the last thing that Sybil pulled up, which happened to be the location of all the shield bases.
Right.
And of course, Yo-Yo's looking in, so you're a computer geek now? So like, yeah, I guess so. So he pulls up all the bases and he's trying to talk to the hub, and he gets a hold of the hub and said, "Yeah, hey, Lighthouse, good to hear from you, but we didn't think you were active anymore." Right then is when the Chronicoms start firing, and the first one that goes out is the hub. Now, this is actually something interesting that I just learned today from one of the observant fans on Twitter. Is they had the map of where all the bases were, and they showed them going out as the Chronicoms going. Well, the first one that went out was the hub.
Right.
And it showed exactly where the hub was, which was toward Alaska.
Right.
Remember, every time you ever went to one of those bases, like the sandbox, the hub, it always said location classified. Right. Well, not anymore. Now we know where it is because they just showed us, or at least where it was.
Well, I was just classified no more. So
right. That's what I said. They said, I think I said on Twitter, they said, no comment about where the hub is, and once they went off record, they said we're going to have to move the hub. Of course, at this timeline, it doesn't matter because they all got destroyed, including the Triskelion.
Yeah, that was
which wasn't supposed to be. I mean, I think it was there, but just wasn't supposed to be active yet.
Right.
At that time, in the original timeline. Anyway, so of course,
nothing.
Right.
Was going on
none of this is right. So anyway, so
so
Coulson is sitting there looking at the map as they said they're doing it. They're taking out Shield.
Right.
And basically, that's kind of how it ends. Though Kora ends up back on the ship with Nathaniel.
Right, because she's been teleported.
Right. And of course, Nathaniel's thanking her, saying, "Hey, we could have never done this without your help." And he kisses her at the end of it. I think she's still. I think there's something more in her about the whole her mother getting killed thing than she was showing there. I think eventually that's going to come out against Nathaniel with Kora. I'm thinking.
Maybe.
Well, again, so basically we're down now to the 2-hour final, which is Wednesday.
Right.
And like I said, where not that many people tend to talk for the most part about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This week it's been
A plethora.
right, and of course I've been doing my share of plethering, which is kind of cool though, because a lot of the people behind the scenes have been on Twitter a lot, just kind of reminiscing about the 7th season. So getting a chance to talk to people that you might normally not get to talk to, and all the cast members are coming on, talking about. And that thing, actually, they've been done total with that series since October 2019. It's been in the cans.
Wow.
That's what I said. So you guys said you guys are a whole lot better than Tom Holland, because I would have been spilling my guts between now and then about what had happened. But they've been doing a good job of keeping their mouths shut. So we're all going to find out
in just a few days.
I'm trying to decide what we're going to do podcast-wise on that. If we're going to just do it right afterwards, or
we should probably.
Be honest with you,
we should probably do it while we're watching it.
Right, as I say, we could literally, we can't include any of the video from it because Marvel.
Well,
Disney,
right. Well, I mean, we don't have to.
But we can certainly do our openings, go into it, and during commercials, does that say exactly what we're thinking at the time we're watching it? Which I think what we might do.
It'll be fun.
Right.
It'll be different.
Right, and
it'll be immediately out on the
right, and
instead of us waiting.
Well, won't be immediately out, but it'll be out a lot quicker than we put it out.
Well, we're for those people who haven't gotten quite around to it yet.
Yeah, that's it. We don't want to spoil things for you, so we wait until like the day before the next one shows to tell you. So you can never say that Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge spoiled our show. They told us what happened before we wanted to know.
If you didn't watch it, then you don't want to watch it.
Right, apparently, and then shame on you anyway. So
so you should have watched it.
Right. So what do you think is going to happen here in our final?
Well, I as I have said, really honestly, probably this whole season, as soon as I've been looking for Fitz for a while, I really felt like he was somewhere taking care of their daughter while Gemma was rescuing May and doing what they had to do, and knowing that she would not get back for a little bit, but knowing that the only way they could get this done was here's the thing that kind of, though I kind of feel like, I really feel like Enoch is with Fitz right now. And I feel like it's like a Chronicom double that was with, or a double, or even maybe.
Well, see, to me,
or maybe it is an Enoch, almost kind of like an LMD,
Right. Well, of course, Enoch is a Chronicom anyway. So,
right.
But again, we kept talking about when they go back in time, the other Enoch is still there from the original.
And maybe that's the Enoch that's with
right. And
Fitz.
that's what I'm thinking. That's why you could theoretically have another Enoch with Fitz.
Obviously these two things can coexist. And the other thing that is the real kicker here is that Daisy is alive and her mother is dead, and she hasn't even had her yet.
Right. So I mean, you got all kinds
of
time paradoxes going on there.
Stuff. So here's and that's, I gotta be honest with you, that's the only reason I thought that Jiayang would survive that neck break, because I really thought that somehow she was going to be back in the saddle, mainly because of Daisy.
So do you think there's any way they turn it around by going back and preventing events from happening, or is that ship sailed?
I don't know if that ship sailed, mainly because if the Chronicoms now have this information about how to time travel, and they have the seer, who is her name,
Sybil.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to mesh with will they have to go to the future to make sure they don't get the information so that they can go to the past and go back over
I know.
again?
I guess.
I mean, that's the only way, and that's the only way they get to the time. And here's the other problem with that whole thinking, is if they do that, does the world get torn apart again? Because now you have, because when they fixed the timeline, or when they made it so that, the world did not get quaked apart, that was the beginning of
changing
the change in the timeline. And so if that happens, where do you go back to, and what do you make not happen?
I know. I'm beginning to agree with Max. Don't be messing with that stuff.
Right. Because now you've created waves instead of ripples, and now you've really, really messed it up badly.
Right. So
how do you refix it? Branch off into something
right.
else?
That's what time travel does. It just screws the pooch all over the place.
Yeah.
So anyway, he said, so Wednesday night, 9 o'clock.
Time.
Right. Is the final, and you're going to have a whole lot of excited and sad people all at the same time.
Yeah.
Excited to see what happens, and sad because it's going to end. And as we said, we kind of figured that they could easily put Daisy in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
They could easily put Yo-Yo in the MCU. I don't know if there's any other, I guess it depends on what happens with Kora if they straighten her out. She's got enough power that she could be in the MCU, but I never heard of Quake before Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And apparently she'd been in the comic books. So would Yo-Yo, for that matter.
Right.
So
the
TV show was the first time I'd ever heard of them. But apparently people who read the comics were familiar with the characters.
So let me ask you a question about that. Was that a 1930s kind of Quake thing from the comic book, or was that recent?
No, that was recent.
Oh, okay. I was just wondering.
So
I was wondering why Sousa found it so funny.
Oh,
I didn't know if he was like, yeah, that's in the comics.
He thought he was probably thinking it was the chocolate drink. That was quick. I don't know.
No, there was a oh no, it was a quiz. No, that's a breakfast cereal.
Right. So anyway, that's pretty much what we got for a brand new day. And like I said, we're heading to the final, and we're going to be talking a ton about that, possibly on the day of or the night of, since again, because someone decided to schedule their vacation during the week they're showing the final, so I don't have to fight that battle. So in the meantime, I'm Martin.
And I'm Kathy.
And we'll see you again maybe Wednesday, Thursday on Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. It's been our pleasure to present to you GVN's Martin and Kathy's Coffee Binge. We'll see you next time.